There are 13 levels required to beat New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and I personally have been able to beat about 6 of them blindfolded. After a bit of testing and discussing with my friend, we figured out that there are about 4 levels near impossible blindfolded. Near impossible isn't impossible though, just close. So what's with the title? No one has actually beaten the game blindfolded yet, and of these 13 levels, here are the nearly impossible ones. We will label them nils. A name I think is pretty fitting as it's the same amount of people that have beaten the game blindfolded. I'll be going over every strategy my friend and I have come up with to beat these nils. Every video I use is linked below, and I'll have their channel names in the corner as well when I use their clips. Now, let's talk about how these nils can be completed and why they're so tough. The World 5 Castle is the first nil, as it contains 5 sets of moving spike walls that make no noise. This alone makes the level nearly impossible to beat blindfolded, as you are unable to slide against the wall to hear which side you're on, and adding a time limit to how long you can stand on a block without getting hit. This alone is hard enough, but the walls are not synced up with one another. The last 2 sets of walls also move faster than the previous set. It's not impossible though. Most of the blocks are always in the same place, and the first wall always starts on the same side, meaning with some counting you should be able to get through the next set without dying. It's probably also possible to have multiple timers or metronomes set up to tell you when the walls start moving and how much time you have. If any of you guys don't know, a metronome is a device musicians use that makes a clicking noise at an adjustable tempo. By having multiple hotkeys set up to different online metronomes, they could start and stop them instantly and have their timing down to within a second of the wall's movements. This would give them the in-game sound that they are missing without any modding. The current modless plan takes a lot of time and patience, but it is theoretically possible to do. You start off using an ice power-up to hit walls, and you have hotkeys set up to multiple metronomes. You'll need to count your jumps so you can figure out when you have exited one set of walls and are in range of the next set. The ice power-up also helps us with the next problem. There are dry bones all throughout the level. These fellows are silent and will also be hard to keep track of. If you do remain on the same pace though, they always start on the same side and will move back and forth at a set pace. Meaning, as long as you are hitting all of your jumps, you should be able to plan out where you're going to arrive on the platform and freeze the dry bones before it hits you. After reaching the flag, the player then has to climb the 2 final hardest set of walls. The walls now move faster, adding an even harsher time limit to their movement. But the ice trick still works here too, as the first set does not cross the middle, allowing for the player to still track the walls. The final set, however, does cross the middle, making it the hardest by far. It makes it nearly impossible to land in the center, throw a snowball, and then move out of the way in time. By throwing a spring right here and using your head to line it up, you can then risk losing a power-up as you will either clear the wall and know to move to the left, or hit your head nodes at the right. You start counting the pacing of the wall using the spring to jump. This is definitely the hardest part to pull off, but I do believe it is possible. You could also try throwing ice if you get enough height to see as well, but it does mean that you still risk getting hit. At the door, assuming you haven't been hit more than once, you can equip this fire flower on this wall for the fight. You don't need to move out of the way of his fire attacks, as the moving platform does it for you. It really just boils down to running left, spamming fire, then running right and spam jump. Then wait for him to hit you, then abuse immunity frames and land on him. Run to the left and repeat step 2. World 5-4 is the log level, a staple of speedrunning in New Super Mario Bros. Wii community. Normally the level plays out similar to an auto-scroller, as you get rid of enemies while your little log raft floats along the purple acid. If you have 5 or more entities on your log, not including you, the log stops moving entirely. You are unable to just spam fireballs as they leave behind coins. The coins count as entities, meaning that you either have to wait for the coins to fall off, or attempt to collect them blind. Collecting coins blindfolded on top of liquid that one hit kills you isn't exactly the wisest choice. Ice works almost as well, but still leaves the chance that enemies can just walk under the ice arc it makes when bouncing. Though, you can still use fire and ice to find where the acid is, as they make a distinct noise when landing on it. But there is another issue we have overlooked. There is no flag to say that. In every other level on this list, if you die, you can restart from the halfway point and even power up beforehand. Not being able to save after you get halfway means you must do it all in one attempt, or else it's a full restart from the very beginning of the level, adding on lots of time and difficulty. Even with sight, it's still a difficult level as enemies can fall from the sky and hit you. None of them make a noise except the piranha plant or a bomb once it's been hit. So, how do we beat it? Something I came up with is the idea of having one Wii remote act as 4 separate Wii remotes, allowing the player to spam ice or fire at a faster pace, allowing for more damage to be taken, and for the super ground pound, killing all enemies nearby. This would give them a greater chance of surviving. Even if one player dies, they can still respawn as long as there's one living player left. This means you can just have a constant flow of respawn bubbles going if you need to. My friend was able to test it out, and this is definitely the most effective and reliable way to beat this level. Then you should be able to use the sounds of the first piranha plant to find where the pipe is, as your character does not make noise when hitting a wall. I would also recommend attempting a wall slide here as well to make sure you've reached all the way, as the time can be messed up if the raft gets slowed down. There may be an additional way that this could be possible in the future though. You see, the way speedrunners do this level is not by waiting around a log like some peasant, but instead they do this nonsense. Now obviously, this is nearly impossible blindfolded, but there are a few key things in this that make me believe it's possible. The most important thing in any blindfolded run is sound and timing. Mario as he runs makes noise, both when propellering up and floating down, every time he wall kicks and every time he ground pounds on a block. By using a metronome, the player could hypothetically time each of his landings on these blocks and finish out a run as though they had sight. The sound cues are possibly the only thing that can make it possible. I'm not saying this is likely or even easy, but I think it would be short-sighted to just outright say that this route is impossible blindfolded, as there have been multiple times in speedrunning where something was just thought to be impossible, only for everyone to be proved wrong by some deranged dude with the precision of a TAS coming along. In this blindfolded run, any sort of mistake is a monumental task to recover from without dying, as there are very few sound cues to let you know exactly where you are, and every enemy that can be walking towards you is silent, and without vision, it's next to impossible to tell how far you are from a ledge. But Speedrun.com does not have a blindfold category for this game. There's only one other video on YouTube that I was able to find that wasn't mine even attempting this blindfolded. And somehow, at 28 subscribers, I am the only person that has ever completed this many levels blindfolded. And since it's not a category already, the rules are up for debate. I feel that the best way for a player to be able to complete this game in a timely manner while blindfolded is to either 1. Have pre-acquired power-ups, or 2. Have a raised notebook with all the possible Toad House combinations and a mod that tells them what panel they just flipped over, allowing them to collect them blind. I think 1 makes the most sense, but maybe it'll be a different category with number 2. Speaking of modding, I do feel as though a mod that dampens the background music would be very helpful, but I've yet to find one that only dampens it and not completely mutes it. I would love to see a mod that adds additional sound cues as well, specifically for the World 5 Castle. 8-7, the classic sibling killer. Everybody's favorite place to throw their friends into lava. Initially, I didn't think this was going to be an ill, since there were more sound cues here than in most other levels. The bone coaster makes noise when ascending and descending, it has a screech that can be used for timing in this section, and the lava geysers make noise as well. There are more jumps here than on almost any other level that can damage or insta-kill you. There is still hope to beat the level though, as there are sound cues that happen at precise times, and regardless of where you land on the bone coaster, it will always start at the same speed, meaning you can count how long before it jumps instead of just relying on sound cues. You're also able to use our favorite mechanic, the save flag, allowing for more attempts and power-ups. After trying this for myself, I figured out the reason why I was failing jumps blind was not due to missing the timing, but from being unaware of how from the ledge I actually was, so I was constantly jumping too soon or too late. Multiple times I fell off from the front and back of the coaster due to this. You are able to use ice at the very start to make sure you are close to the middle, but afterwards, the coaster picks up too much speed and your ice will just bounce at the same speed as the coaster, ending up being basically useless. Fireballs won't work here either, as the coaster is often too far above the lava for you to make out the sound of it actually hitting the lava. This level originally seemed a lot easier, as you don't have to dodge any enemies and it has minimal platforming. After attempting it though, I realized just how many geysers and lava pools there actually were. But you still may be able to abuse immunity frames in order to dodge 2 geysers in a row if you do mess up a jump. I do still think this level is possible, but it's probably going to be the second hardest out of the bunch. World 8 ship isn't actually a nil, I think, but it is hard. The actual navigation and platforming is surprisingly easy with ice, as it can tell you when you are near the spin screws, when you're near a ledge, and it can even help you line up so you know when the screw is screwed enough. I would argue that ice is the single most important power-up in this entire run. Propeller is a distant second. This also allows you to kill enemies from a distance, of course. The propeller soup is nice to have for lots of the levels, but it's also a lot harder to control blindfolded, as there aren't any sound cues to tell you how close to edges you are. The cannons are a bit annoying, but you can actually run through the first part here and wait for this one to go off. This 4-set cannon starts with the 2 bottom ones at a diagonal. You can then jump down and use your ice to find the cannonball going down the middle, letting you know when to jump. And then if you wait over here long enough, you can avoid any strays, jump up after the 3 giant ones go off, and just count on how often this one goes off. Because this is a floating ship in the air, the camera sways up and down, and because of this, the cannonballs can actually hit you or miss you without you moving. As you can see here, I have not moved from this position, but in one shot I can get hit by a cannonball and the other it misses. Because of this sway, you can actually have a route that gets ruined because you got slowed down. Now a cannonball that would normally pass above you passes right into you. You then listen closely as there is a slightly quieter shot when the green pipe is almost lined up, as only one cannon will be firing. Everything else is pretty standard. You just throw some ice balls here to make sure you're not over the edge, do some jumping, do some spinning, pretty normal stuff. When you start spinning, your ice will actually shoot out to the sides and hit the platform, letting you know when to stop. This is also something you can do for multiple jumps. You can also spam spin over here till you hit the coins, then jump up, missing the wind-up toys. It's fairly slow to move towards you. Now it's time for the boss fight. In my experience, the best way to beat Bowser Jr. blindfolded is to be able to count whenever he fires his fire. What happens is you walk to either the left or the right, whichever wall you're furthest away from, for about 3 seconds, you turn around and you shoot out your ice. What you also want to do is keep track of how long it takes for you to walk from one side to the other and where the bomb has been dropped. I tend to prefer to try to stay to the right side until the bomb has been dropped, and then I slowly walk to the left waiting for the bomb to have hit the wall. It does have a distinct audio cue of when it hits the wall. Bowser Jr. tries to stay directly above you, and so once you ground pound and continue sprinting towards the direction of the bomb, Bowser Jr. is going to fly directly into the bomb. Down below I will link the video that I made of beating Bowser Jr. blindfolded. Bowser's castle has no RNG and does have some sound cues in a couple of areas. Ideally, you'd want to avoid getting hit in the first third, as in the second third, propeller is insanely useful for this section to cheese it. The strategy of the propeller is to just constantly shake your Wii Remote as hard as you can, and try to line up with the exact edge of this platform right here, as it'll drop you down, landing on the edge of multiple platforms in a row. Meaning, by the time you actually touch the ground or run out of platforms, there's no more lava left to run into. Bowser does fire his fireballs in the same order here, meaning dodging them is the exact same each time. But that's not the actual fight. In case you forgot or don't know what the Bowser fight looks like, here it is. But even if you do manage to memorize your route with all the platforms, there's still 2 hurdles. The first is actually getting Bowser to shoot the fireballs at you and dodging them. The fire only makes noise when it is initially fired or when it has hit something. This means you must blind dodge the fireballs, not knowing what height they are at or where they might hit. Then the final hurdle, the silent lava waves. These are made when Bowser does a large jump or moves forward. Even though Bowser does roar when jumping, the waves themselves are silent. Each wave is a one-hit kill, and you are required to go below the lava line in order to pass under these columns. Maybe you could attempt to have Bowser fire his fireballs at the columns, but that might be just as dangerous or worse. In my experience, the best way to platform blindfolds is to stick to either running or walking, as mixing the two will lead to more mistakes. It's also ideal to wait for as short of time as possible during levels, as the longer you have to count before moves, the more likely you are to miscount. While I was finishing up this video, I stumbled upon possibly the greatest TAS I have ever witnessed. A groundbreaking TAS with so much time and effort put into it, it makes all the art in the world seem like crayon drawings by a child. And it uses a strategy that I've never seen before, one that is also proven to be human viable and saves 9 seconds. It also helps us with one of the hardest sections of Bowser's castle. By having Bowser fire a fireball towards the top of the screen, Mario is then able to wall clip in and run all the way over to this platform. Mario is then pushed out of the wall when the camera moves. This allows us to skip every fireball except for the ones at the start, meaning you only need to dodge 2 fireballs blind at most, instead of a minimum of 7. It may be harder to do, but it is definitely worth the risk. Finally, let me explain how to do the final 3 levels I haven't done blindfolded yet. 8-1 has a lot of falling boulders, but they do fall in a set pattern. You're able to blaze through the entire first half and take damage twice, leading you to the flag. Then you can go back to sprinting again, where you can power up with the fire right here for extra hits. Then, a couple small jumps with some counting, and as long as you move at the same pace, they'll always be at the same pattern. Then you can finally just wall jump and count the steps and you're there. You can also just sprint jump right out of the gate, so no need to worry about this either. 8-2 is really just nothing but metronomes and propellers, really. I think it's a fairly easy one to figure out. The hardest part is just figuring out where the star box is, that way you can ground pound on it and click the star without getting hit, and then counting how long you have run and making sure that you make it into the secret exit. Then it's just constant running and jumping and hoping you don't get hit by too many Goombas. I cannot stress how hard this challenge would be. There's a reason that no one in the world has done it. Below I have a video by Summoning Salt breaking down the history of the new Super Mario Bros. Wii World Records, and he goes into detail about some of the cool tricks that the speedrunners do. I highly recommend it, as it's a great video and it's also incredibly informative. I rewatched it in order to research this challenge as well. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. This took me over 3 weeks to make and edit, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is the first video essay I've ever done, and I do plan on making more.